Good morning. It is 8:48 a.m. on Wednesday, August 1st, 2018. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. I am, continuing to be on my vacation, so, the time cited is Mountain Time Zone rather than Eastern. The trip has still continued to be good. Yesterday we went and drove up to Estes Park, which is, not a super tiny town, but smallish, but a little ways up into the mountains, certainly compared to, Longmont, which is more on the front range, before the mountain part really starts. But just because it's nice up there, we had talked about actually making a trip up to Trail Ridge Road, which is up in Rocky Mountain National Park, and you can actually go up above tree line there. And it's really beautiful up there too. Haven't been up there in a little while, but it's it's a longer trip. So we decided Estes Park, and just going up there for lunch was a suitable compromise, and it was pretty beautiful. So that was yesterday. Also yesterday, I finally finished reading the book that I've been reading, which is A Big Ship at the End of the Universe by Alex White, who, full disclosure, is a friend of mine. But it's really good. I like it. The basic premise, and this, with this you'll know even more than I actually knew when I started reading it. I decided to start reading it because written by a friend of mine, and I had heard good things anyway, but the basic premise is that it's kind of a combination of sci-fi and fantasy, in that it's a science fiction universe with, spaceships and faster than light travel and different planets and colonies and super fast racing cars and all that stuff. But part of what runs all that is that almost everybody in this setting has some kind of magic, and there's lots of different kinds, but generally each person has one kind, and that is interesting. I mean, I hadn't expected that when I started reading, so I was a little bit like, oh, I didn't expect that. And so, but it really is integrated extremely well into the universe. And a lot of the characters are really interesting, and the action is great. Yeah, so I finally finished it last night, and it's stellar. I really highly recommend it. It gets into there's just a lot of stuff that's kind of my jam. There's elements that in some ways there's bits and pieces of influence from, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, for example, especially in the way that everyone has their own one kind of magic, for example, and they use them in different combinations in interesting ways. But then there's also, there's the treasure hunting aspect and the spaceship aspect, and one of the characters is one of these elite athletes, race car drivers, which makes me think of Speed Racer, which is very much my jam, and that's good stuff. So it takes, not to say that it's not original, because I've never really read anything quite like it, but it brings in influence that I can sort of sense from all sorts of things that I love, and kind of mushes them all together in a nice tight little narrative, which I loved. It's got a really scary bad guy character that it feels like a real legitimate threat, and it's got a big mystery at the core of the whole thing. It's got lots of great action all the way through, and I'm just trying to think what else to say about it. Even though obviously, when you're involving magic, one of the benefits of using magic as a storyteller is that it can work however you want it to work, right? You just need to set rules for yourself within the universe, and then follow those rules so that it's, internally consistent, but it allows you to build these big set pieces that work because of the way that your magic works in that setting, and it feels earned, and it's just really good. I recommend it thoroughly. That book is A Big Ship at the End of the Universe, and apparently it's going to be the first book of a series, so just another recommendation for that. So, A Big Ship at the End of the Universe by Alex White. All right, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.